Welcome to Pioneers in Payments, where payments experts share their insights. Now, here's our host, Donna Blum.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Pioneers in Payments. Today, I have the honor of speaking with Kate Conroy from Citizens Bank. Welcome, Kate.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Well, I'm so glad you were willing to join us. Looking forward to gleaning some insights from you today. Before we get started, though, Kate, would you mind sharing with our audience a little bit about yourself, your background in the payments industry, and also the work that you do at Citizens Bank?
Sure, yeah, I'd be happy to. I'm based in the Boston area. I grew up in this area as well. I've been in banking for about 15 years. I've been the whole time in product management, in payments, most of the time in commercial. I spent over 10 years in commercial. Now I look at payments from a bit of a wider lens, so small business, consumer, more of an enterprise view. But lots of experience with commercial. Um, I'm at Citizens now. I've spent most of my career at Citizens. I did have a couple years with Santander. That was a great experience. And my team now, I would say most of my career being in commercial, I was on very mature product teams. Um, so the typical treasury management product set, building that out, but very established, mature teams. The past almost 4 years now, I've been part of our new enterprise team here at Citizens. So still focused on payments, but very much building it out from nothing. So it has been a very different experience. Almost feels like a startup. We've made a lot of progress in almost 4 years. So it's grown a lot, but very different just experience. Still within obviously a mature bank, but a lot of growth. The team has grown from, I think, like 6 people to maybe 40. So lots of growth, lots of change. So been kind of exciting the past several years. And we've brought a lot together, I'd say, for the bank, looking at payments holistically. Before, I think we were a little too siloed. The consumer bank did their thing, the commercial bank did their thing, and we now work very closely together, and it's brought a lot of good synergies and ultimately good experiences for our customers. So it's been a good thing all around.
Yeah, that sounds like a good move to kind of consolidate things and you can maybe better leverage the technology too across the entire enterprise, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Vendors, technology, there's a lot we can improve when we're all working together. So it's been a really good thing for the bank.
That's great. Well, and I'm sure that you've had a huge role in all of that, sort of leading the charge and getting some of that consolidation to happen.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my team now, I'd say I'm now very focused on small business. That's my current passion, and my team is very oriented around small business. So there's lots to do there. It's such an exciting, I guess, area of our customer base, of the economy. It's a great place to be.
That's great. Well, my first question for you is really about what you perceive to be the top trend in the payments industry today.
Sure, yeah. So I think a very big theme is it's hard to really describe with one phrase, but the concept I think is bringing the bank or banking products to customers where they operate. Open banking, embedded finance. There's many terms that I think are all getting at the same theme. I think in the past and hopefully it's shifting. It's still a lot of work to be done, but I think the legacy kind of mindset is customers have to come to the bank to do their business. Come to either a branch or more recently come to our online banking site and do their business there. And I think there's definitely a shift in, customers are doing their thing every day, whether it's a business or a person, they're out there doing their thing. And can't they just have their banking needs or payment needs, lending needs, whatever it is, just integrated into their existing experience, whatever they're doing? And how do we bring our products there versus the other way around. So lots of technology is needed for that to happen in a smooth way. Obviously, there's fraud that we have to worry about and authentication to mitigate fraud. So there's a lot of, I guess, technology in the mix. But I think that's a big theme. And also simple, making things simple and easy, transparent, which is all like the good things that we should be doing um, regardless. But I think there's a lot of focus recently on those things, as well as personalization, knowing who your customer is. Why am I talking to you about something you're not doing? I should know who you are and talk to you about what you need and what you do. So um, I think personalization is another big theme, and it kind of goes together with bringing the bank to where the customer is, meeting them there versus the other way around.
Right. Yeah, that makes so much sense. So perhaps, in days gone by, customers had to adapt to the products and services that the banks had available and kind of work within the limitations. But I think it's really great that now the banks are really trying to, like you said, meet the customers where they're at and provide them with the types of payments that they want and in a integration, with that keeps it simple, right? Like hopefully it's something that they can easily do, perhaps directly from their um, the portal or whatever, so there aren't any extra steps, kind of taking some of the friction out of that equation, so that's good.
Right. And there's so many great, I mean, the technology has just exploded. Innovation has just exploded. So if you look at the industry, there are so many really good um, just fintechs out there or just software, whatever it is. So it's almost like the banks don't necessarily have as much of a front and center role. The bank might be kind of sitting behind the experience that's offered by a fintech or something, because there's like, if you think of anything you want to do, there's a software program, or there's an app for it, so there's no way one bank or one entity can be everything to everybody. So I think that's a huge part of this, is maybe the bank sitting more behind the scenes and letting that app or that experience that a fintech or another company has created kind of be that primary um, interface for the customer. There's no way you could be everything to everybody. So
That's so true. So that's very wise. I love that we're seeing more of that in the industry, that collaboration between the banking industry and the fintech industry. There used to be some sort of like almost competitiveness there going on there, but now very much just partnerships. So
right, yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's a shift. I mean, I think it's a great opportunity, but you have to kind of look forward and think about what's the identity of the bank in the future. It might look different than it has been in the past.
okay, so there's a lot happening in the industry. Obviously, you talked about growing your team from like 6 to 40. So obviously, there's a lot more going on within your environment that requires more payments people. And so, what would you say is the biggest opportunity right now for banks and other organizations that are processing payments?
That's a great question. I mean, I think the opportunity is really to get on board with technology. I feel like payments is now a technology business. I mean, you can't really do much without technology. And when I say technology, it has to be like modern and what's happening out there in the industry. It can't be technology from 10 years ago. You have to really stay on top of it, because it changes so quickly. What we're doing now is not what we were doing even 2 years ago. So you do have to stay really on top of it and partner with different providers, partners, players out there. Partnerships is key, because there is so much happening, so much innovation. So I would say technology is a big one to pay attention to. and embrace, really. That's a huge opportunity. Let's see, in terms of what else, I think just capitalizing on like that open banking kind of concept and personalization as well. Those are key elements. And then I think simple. I think in order to kind of have an advantage out there is keeping things simple, because ultimately the customer experience is going to be probably the primary thing that drives um, who comes out on top. So I think simplicity is so important. You have all this complicated stuff happening in the background, but how do you make it really easy, understandable, transparent to a customer? Those are like the key things. But all the magic in the background has to be kind of hidden. It should be really accessible and easy.
So there's so many applications and there's a lot happening in the back office with technology, but to them, you don't want them to be worried about that at all or even see that, right? You just want it to be, you want them to be able to push the easy button.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so true. Okay, so what would you say then is the greatest challenge for organizations that are processing payments?
Well, probably just that, making it simple. Um, yeah, there's a lot in the background. Like, I'll give one example. We have so many different systems and platforms. Some of it is stuff we've built in-house. Other things are a partnership or a vendor is plays a big role in something. And how do you, for example, keep user entitlements easy? Because especially as you go more and more into the commercial space, the more types of platforms you might have. And how do you have one company, let's say they've got 20 people in their AP department, they've got their managers that might approve things, there's more senior management that maybe come in for special types of actions. Um, you have this core group of people, but let's say there's maybe 30 plus systems in the background at the bank that these customers are interfacing with throughout their day. How do you keep it simple for them so that they don't have different user rules and different entitlements in each system? Or every time they open up an account, do they have to go to each downstream system and add that account? Or do we do it and it takes like 2 weeks to set everything up for them? That's where it can really get complicated. So like user entitlements is a huge, huge thing. And then I think like if you're looking at a small business, for example, a lot of small businesses want to see their business stuff and their personal stuff in the same place. So then how do you make sense of that? Not necessarily mix up the user entitlements. You don't want to be giving access to someone's accountant, giving them access to their like personal account. You have to make sure um, it's all cohesive, I guess. So that is a huge headache, and I think it's a constant challenge that we're always thinking about that. That seems to be just one of the elements of rationalizing the entire ecosystem in the background. Um, so simple, keeping things fast. Um, I think there's an element also of people want to have someone to talk to when it's something they really do need advice on, but I don't necessarily want to talk to someone if I just have to reset my password. So how do you make things self-service when they need to be self-service? And then how do you make a person, like a bank employee or advisor, whoever it is, easily accessible for the types of things that a customer is going to want to talk about? And I think we tend to we struggle with kind of the opposite, where it's hard to get your person on the phone that you really need advice from, and the stuff that you do want to do self-service seems to always require calling a number and talking to someone. So like, how do you get the right balance of that? So there's a lot we're doing right now on digital self-service, trying to, and that ultimately speeds it up too. So you don't have days for something to have to happen. It should be happening instantly. If someone's applying online for something in a self-service kind of mode, you don't want the approval to then take 5 days. If someone's applying online, they should find out instantly, did I get approved or not? And then is my whatever I'm signing up for, is it on the way? Or can I just log in right now and do it? It shouldn't be I log in right now and then I have to wait 5 days. Or sorry, I apply right now and then wait 5 days for it to be activated. So those are the types of things that I think we're constantly worried about in the background. And then I think another balance that we have to kind of deal with is how do we let customers do things digitally without opening up the doors to fraud? There's a very tough balance there with a certain like necessary amount of friction, but without being too much in the way. Um, that's a constant balance.
Yeah, I would imagine so. I would think that that would probably be one of the bigger challenges is, how do you prevent the fraud when you are allowing more of that self-service? And, so as you make it easier for them and there is less friction, is fraud going to go up?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's right. That's the trade-off.
Yeah,
The
right.
easier it is, the easier it is for fraud as well. So that's where technology comes in, and a lot of a lot of attention to that point, especially.
Yeah. I would think also too that self-service really lends itself to the industry moving towards more instant and real-time payments. So, most banks still have office hours Monday through Friday, not necessarily staffed during the weekends. So, how do you solve for that 24 by 7 by 365 real time environment, right? So that self service kind of, I think, would fit there as a way of servicing your customers around the clock.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's especially with thinking about small businesses, which is my current passion. I mean, they're out there, um, they're working whatever 8, 10, 12 hours a day on their business. The time that they have to be doing their bank account stuff is like 11 p.m. on a Tuesday night. Like they're not able to just sit around and call the bank during working hours. They're out there trying to do their business. And they also don't have maybe the expertise, because when you're a small business, you can't hire an IT person. You can't hire even necessarily an office person to do things. It's one person doing everything. So you really have to it really is important for those types of customers that have a quote unquote day job, and they don't have the time to do things manually. They don't have time to go to a branch. They don't have time to call someone up and apply online, or they would maybe at midnight, but not during bank hours. So yeah, it's very important in the small business and consumer space as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. All right. So now, my favorite question. If you had to take your sum total knowledge of the payments industry and all that's happening in the industry today and give our audience one silver bullet piece of advice, what would that be?
I think it would be um, stay close to the customer. You cannot go wrong. Like you don't even have to summarize things a little too much. You don't even have to worry about the financials, or like it all comes in line right where you need it if you just follow the customer and deliver good customer experiences. And I don't think we do it enough. Is really following the cut, like do it, like pretend you're a customer, sign up yourself, see how easy it is. Go to a branch and do what a customer has to do at a branch. Like really do it yourself. Sign up for the credit card as the product manager or whatever. Go sign up for a credit card and see how easy it is. And really and talking to salespeople who are talking to customers all day, talking to customers themselves, whether it's yourself or doing studies or surveys, getting feedback, looking at customer complaints, looking at calls into the client services group, all the different channels, but get really close to the customer experience and you just can't go wrong, really. I think everything kind of lines up once you stay close to the customer experience.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. In fact, somebody, just a side conversation I had earlier today, this does not relate to Citizens Bank at all, a different bank. But the person had to get some customer service, and the automated line kept asking for the credit card number. Well, they don't have a credit card number associated with this account. So, anyways, they had to get to the point where they talked to somebody, which took a lot of
Mm.
effort to get that
Yeah.
far. And then the first question that the person asked was, what was their credit card number? So it's like, this person that went through this experience said somebody from the bank should just go through this themselves to
Yeah.
see where the
That's,
problem areas are, right? So that's great advice, Kate.
yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah. We should. But yeah.
It might identify some of those pain points, right?
Yeah. It's always enlightening. It always is. Yeah. So that's really just so important.
Well, Kate, I wanted to make sure too that our audience knows how they could maybe get in touch with you if they wanted to reach out, or how they might learn more about Citizens Bank. What information would you like to share?
Sure. I mean, we have a website, citizensbank.com. We also are on LinkedIn. You can follow us on LinkedIn and see the stuff we're doing kind of day to day. It's a good way to follow our activity.
Okay, very good. And we'll be sure to include a link to the website not only on screen, but also in the description of our video. Kate, I just want to thank you so much for your time today and for sharing your insights. And I also want to thank everybody for watching today. Have a great day.